The Lewis women's volleyball team played at home over fall break, and the men's cross-country team hosted their first meet in school history. We'll have the latest in Lewis athletics coming up right now. Hello and welcome to Flyer Nation, your source for the latest news in Lewis athletics. Thanks for joining us here on LUTN and online. I'm Shane Gustafson.
And I'm Natalie Budig. Joining us later on in the show is head women's basketball coach Lisa Carlsen. She'll give us a preview of the upcoming basketball season as well as what Flyer fans can expect to see at FanFest later this week.
We'll also talk with head men's basketball coach Scott Trost. We'll talk about his team's preseason training as well as what they're looking forward to this season. But before we get to that, let's take a look at some other Flyer sports headlines. The Lewis women's volleyball team played at home over the weekend, taking on two tough GLVC opponents. On Friday night, the team welcomed St. Joseph's to the Neil Carey Arena, looking to extend their 9-game winning streak. The Flyers started off rough and dropped the first set to the Pumas. However, the team was able to recover later in the game thanks to 20 kills from junior Alexis DeVito. Freshman Allie Schneider and junior Morgan Cibula also added double-digit kills to help the team pick up the 3-1 conference victory. On Saturday afternoon, the Flyers took on the second-place Indianapolis Greyhounds and found themselves down early on once again. The Flyers lost the first set by 3 points but couldn't recover later in the game. Indianapolis went on a 7-0 run early in the second set, and the Flyers couldn't stop them on defense. On offense, the team collected 10 kills from DeVito and 7 from Schneider, but Indianapolis still picked up the 3-0 sweep over the Flyers. Head women's volleyball coach Laura Lee Smith says the team lost point blank to one of their biggest GLVC rivals.
Indy had more power, they played more aggressive, they hustled more on defense, and they pretty much just beat us in every category. It really never happened. Once they took control, they kind of rolled with it, and we fought, but we never fought hard enough, I guess.
The team will be back in action this weekend as they travel to Aurora to play in the GLIAC GLVC crossover matchups against Grand Valley State, Michigan Tech, and Northern Michigan.
The women's soccer team is coming home after a long weekend in Missouri. On Friday afternoon, the Flyers took on Missouri St. Louis and won 2-0. Both sophomore Meg Carmendy and junior Jessica Chavez scored during the game. Head coach Chris Koenig said that he was pleased to see their defense starting to gel and that the team finished some good chances. The Flyers then moved forward to take on Maryville on Sunday but fell 2-1. Maryville didn't waste any time getting on the board, scoring their first goal within 4 minutes of the game starting. Jessica Chavez scored the Flyers' only goal, and head coach Chris Koenig said that the team gave up too many set pieces. The Flyers will take on Quincy at home on Friday for a blackout match. Game is set to start at 7:30 p.m.
The Lewis men's soccer team also spent fall break on the road, looking to add more victories to their GLVC record. The men traveled to UMSL on Friday night but got off to a slow start. The game remained scoreless throughout the first hour of play until UMSL put a ball past goalkeeper Omar Ramirez, giving them the lead. The Flyers attempted 4 goals on the night, but UMSL blocked all of them, giving themselves the 1-0 victory over the Flyers. On Sunday afternoon, the men looked to rebound against Maryville. The team hit the field and gave up a goal to the Saints within the first 10 minutes of play. Maryville also scored again at the 31-minute mark to take the 2-0 lead at half. But all of that changed when the men returned to the field and scored 3 goals, 2 of which came from George Thompson. Christian Nowak added a goal for the Flyers, and they took the 3-2 conference victory. The team will be back in action this weekend when they return home to take on Quincy and Truman State.
The Lewis men's tennis team was represented at the USTA-ITA National Small College Tennis Championships over the weekend in South Carolina. Lewis senior Armand Lavandi competed in the national championship tournament but lost in singles competition to a player from Armstrong State College. This is the second year in a row that Lavandi has competed in the tournament and placed 4th last season. Despite the loss over the weekend, head men's tennis coach Brett Burdell said he is proud of Lavandi's efforts and says he represented the team and the school well. The men will play again this weekend as they travel to Georgia to compete in the Grizzly Open.
The men's cross-country team hosted their first ever race over the weekend and ran strong against several regional opponents. The Flyers put their younger runners in the race using 4 freshmen and a sophomore. Several Flyers placed in the top 20 spots individually, and the team finished in 3rd place overall. St. Joseph's College won the race with 23 points, and Maryville was just behind with 33. Lewis totaled 82 points in the afternoon. Head cross-country coach James Carney says he's very pleased with the way the team ran and the results they got from their younger members of the team.
Really pleased with how we went out there. And first meet on Lewis's course, first 8K, I was really happy. I think we learned a lot. The guys that didn't necessarily participate this weekend, I think they learned a lot in terms of kind of strategy for the conference meet in a couple weeks.
The team will be back in action next weekend as they compete in the AAE Invitational hosted by UW Oshkosh. The race will begin at 11:15 a.m.
Well, what an exciting weekend for the Flyers, not only for the teams, but we also had our first ever cross-country meet on campus.
Yeah, it's always nice to see the first ever anything happen on campus, but the first ever cross-country meet, especially over at the new Lewis Stadium. It was really nice to see that happening here.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll talk with Lewis head women's basketball coach Lisa Carlsen. Stay tuned.
A full life measured in seats starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. We beg to differ. They are snapshots that represent lasting memories, stories to be told for years to come. Our story is one pictured not just with trophies, but with diplomas, friendships, a helping hand. New chapters beginning every season. This is the story of the Great Lakes Valley Conference.
Welcome back to Flyer Nation. Basketball season will be starting soon here at Lewis, and both of our teams are looking to continue their success from last season. The women's team was ranked number 8 in the preseason standings and will start their season in less than a month against Loyola. Here to give us a preview of what we can expect to see from the team this fall is Lewis head women's basketball coach Lisa Carlsen. Thanks for joining us today, Coach.
Hi, Shane. Thanks.
Not a problem. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started talking about the season. Last week, the preseason rankings came out. The team was ranked number 8 in the top 25 poll. What's it like for the team to go into the season with such a high ranking so early on?
Well, I think this team has high expectations for themselves. You know, a lot of preseason rankings are based on last year's success, and this is a new team and a new year. But I don't think it's something that this team's going to shy away from. I think they're ready for the challenge, and like I say, they expect big things from themselves.
So you talk about last season, the team going 23-6 on an NCAA tournament bid for the second consecutive season. How do you get back to that point this year?
Well, I think we've gotten ourselves to the point where the program itself has those kind of expectations. You know, I feel like Lewis is a type of place, and we've established ourselves as one of those programs that should be in the postseason tournament each year. So, you know, a lot of things have to happen. We have to stay healthy. But I think this is a good group, and their expectations as well as the goals that they have for themselves is to get back to that point and hopefully advance.
So you talk about this being a different team, but you do have a lot of returning players this season. How important is it to have pretty much the same core of players coming back? Well,
I think that's huge. Anytime you return the core, and especially kids who have had a lot of experience on the court, I think expectations are high, and I think that's fine, and they have those expectations for themselves. You know, this group has really put themselves in position to do some things that are pretty special here. They've been the core for not just last year, but the last couple years. So, you know, that type of continuity and that type of chemistry can go a long way, especially in tight games and the tough GLVC.
So you talk about the team being pretty much the same. You do have 3 seniors on this year's team and 2 redshirt seniors. How does that give you an advantage as a coach to have that much experience on the team? Well,
again, I think anytime you can return game experience, you know, you can't simulate that in practice the way you would like to. So a lot of those kids have been in situations in tight games, and their response to those situations should be better each time out. You know, the return of Lexi Grader is going to be huge for us as a redshirt senior. She's never looked better as far as being in condition and really ready to have a great senior year. So that's a different dynamic that we didn't have last year that I think it'll be tough for opponents to handle.
So last year, Mariah Bronner-Henley earned the GLVC Player of the Year and led the nation in double-doubles throughout most of the season. How much of an impact is she going to have on the team this year after having such a great year last year?
Well, obviously Mariah had a spectacular sophomore year and really took her game to a whole different level. The difference is this year she's not going to sneak up on anybody. People didn't really know that she was going to be able to make that kind of jump. And this year there's going to be, she's going to be the key to what opponents are trying to do as far as slow us down. But to her credit, she really hasn't rested on those laurels. She's worked really hard. She's as good or better than she was last year. So obviously she's a huge focal point of what we do. She needs her touches and we need her to be effective for us to be as good as we want to be.
So let's talk about you for a little bit. This is your 8th year as head coach of the women's basketball team, and you have 117 career victories. Your next victory will make you the all-time leader in program history. Well, what does that mean to you?
Well, what it means is I've been here a long time, played a lot of ball games. I mentioned earlier that I feel like the program is in a good place right now. Us being able to continue to compete at the national level and hopefully continue to take strides at that level is really where we want to be, and I think where this group has an opportunity to really make a difference and do something special. So, we're very much looking forward to the year. I know we have a lot of players on the roster who are very much looking forward to it, and for some of them it's their last go-around. So. There's something to be said for that senior sense of urgency. So I hope that's what we get to see night in and night out.
So starting the season in just a couple of weeks, starting with 3 exhibition games against some pretty big programs. You go against Loyola, NIU, and Marquette. How important are the preseason games?
Well, I think especially for a seasoned club like we have, being able to go play teams like that early are huge because they're going to want to not practice and just play. So you can jump on the court against some great competition early and really kind of gauge where you're at. Our expectations for those games is to be competitive, not just to, show up for 40 minutes and get out. We hope to be competitive in those games, and I think that really helps us prepare for the rugged GLVC conference schedule.
So coming up this Thursday is the Flyer Fan Fest at the Neil Carey Arena, obviously sponsored by both the men's and women's basketball teams. If students come out to the Fan Fest, what can they expect to see?
Well, I think the Fan Fest has really become, in a short amount of time, a really fun tradition here on campus. It's kind of our version of Midnight Madness, an opportunity for the fans to come out, especially the students to come out and get a little bit of a preview on what the basketball season has in store. But it's also very, very fan-friendly, so they can show up and have some free pizza and some pop. There's going to be some interactive things going on as far as the crowd and the players. As well as a couple of contests, the dunk contest, the three-point contest. So it should be a lot of fun. We hope to see a bunch of people out, and I'm sure there's always going to be giveaways, so that's always fun. Free food and giveaways are a good thing.
Can't beat that.
That's right. So we're excited to fill the stands and really get things kicked off.
All right. Well, Coach, is there anything else you'd like to add while you're here today?
Not necessarily. Like I say, Thursday night will be a great way for you to get a little bit of a preview of both teams. Both teams have huge expectations for this year with seasoned clubs back and hopefully a lot of wins. So the more fan support we can get as far as student involvement, the better off we're going to be here at home.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Coach.
Thanks, Shane. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll talk with Lewis head men's basketball coach Scott Trost. Stay tuned.
Oh! Checking your fantasy league?
Nah, just my 401k statement.
Nice. Where'd you find the money for that?
I've just been saving a little every month.
I can't seem to save anything.
Well, what about all this? What about the money you're spending?
What money? It's gone before I can get my hands on it.
I got a pizza for a Todd.
Hey, can somebody spot me?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
It's 547.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, this job looks perfect. It says you need people skills.
Check.
Driver's license.
Check.
And a high school diploma or GED.
Skip the drama. Get your GED.
I got that.
You are good to go.
Take that first step towards a better future and sign up for free classes now at yourged.org.
Welcome back to Flyer Nation. The men's basketball team will start their season in 2 weeks with an exhibition game against DePaul University. The team goes into the season looking to build off their success from last year when they advanced to the GLVC tournament. Here to talk about the upcoming season is Lewis head men's basketball coach Scott Trost. Thanks for joining us today, Coach.
Great to be here, Shane. Thanks.
Not
Thanks for having me.
So I guess we'll go ahead and start talking about the rankings that came out last week. The team was ranked number 11 in the D2 Bulletin preseason rankings. What does that mean to you as a coach to go into the season with such a high ranking in the number 11 spot?
Well, I think it's great to be recognized, but at the end of the day, Shane, it doesn't mean a lot. I think a lot of those polls are predicated on what you did last year, obviously, and we have a lot of guys back from a 21-6 team and arguably the best D2 league in the country. So, you know, I think with that comes some expectations, but I think our guys will embrace it, look forward to the season, and are excited to get going.
So you talk about this team being a little bit different, but it does look a lot like the same one as last year. You have 4 returning starters on this team. How important is it to have such a similar group coming back?
Well, obviously they know each other on the court, have a great rapport with one another. I think the challenge for us is to mix in a freshman that we think has a ton of potential in Max Struess, but obviously you don't have to cover things, I guess, probably as thorough, and I think you can move a little faster in what you're doing scheme-wise. But I think it's still going to come down to some fundamentals and making shots and being able to guard people and executing on both ends of the floor. But certainly the guys we have, the core we have, understand what we're trying to do, know the process that it takes, and the challenge is now to take it a little bit further.
So you talk about Max Struess. He's one of the 2 freshmen on this year's team. He's the brother of former Flyer Marty Struess. How much of an impact do you see him having on the team?
Well, I think he's got a chance to be a special player. I really do. I think Marty was a true post player, but Max comes in with great versatility. He can play the 2, 3, or 4. Shoots it very well, is a great athlete. Has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and I think wants to leave his own legacy here. But we're certainly looking forward to Max impacting our program.
So let's talk about some of the players that have been around for a little bit, and most notably senior guard Ryan Jackson here, and an honorable mention from the D2 Bulletin last week for this upcoming season. And Jeff Jarose and Julian Lewis are also returning. Both of them have a lot of experience. What do you expect from them this year?
Well, I mean, that's the 6 or 7 seniors we have we're gonna go as far as those guys take us, and obviously led by Ryan and Jeff and Ju. But Ryan, I think, has established himself as one of the better players, not only in the GLVC, but I think if you're one of the best players in GLVC, that puts you as one of the best in the country. So, we're fortunate to have him. I think he's matured. I think he's developed. Looking forward for him to take the next step as a great teammate. And then, you mentioned Ju and Jeff. I think Jeff was 2nd team All-League. I think he's come back better. I think he's come back more matured. There were times last year when he dominated the game on the offensive end. We need him to step up and be a little bit better defensively. But and then Julian averaged, I think, 14 and 9 in the conference last year, and that's almost a double-double in this league, and had a fantastic season. I think Julian's game has evolved. His perimeter game's gotten better. He's been able to put the ball on the floor. So, those are 3 really, really good players. And then as well as our other seniors, I think, have all stepped up and have gotten better. We took a trip to Costa Rica this summer, and I think that was a beneficial thing as far as development. But, again, we're going to be as good as our seniors, and look forward to having a big year led by those guys.
So last season the team went 21-6, advanced to the GLVC championship tournament, but unfortunately lost to Southern Indiana. How do you get back to that point this year, back into that tournament?
Well, again, I think at Division II, and I don't think there's anyone that understands or has great knowledge about Division II basketball that says we weren't a deserving team the last 2 years. I think 3 years ago we go to the NCAA tournament, we're 17-12 and 8-10 in our league. 2 years ago, 19-9, 12-6. Last year, 21-6, 13-5. So I'm hesitant to put, hey, we need to get the NCAA tournament. The NCAA tournament at the Division II level is not a true tournament. It's not a national tournament. And you know, it's frustrating in the sense that we play in a power conference, Division II, and it's not recognized as such nationally. I think some of those conferences in the East or South or whatever that aren't as strong don't want to give up their bids. So it's not a true representation of the top 64 teams in the country. I think last year we ended up 28th in the final poll, and 39 of the top 40 teams in that poll made the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
We didn't make it. So, you know, it'd be nice to make it. You know, I think this team is deserving, has been deserving, but it's not a true representation of the best 64 teams. So we just want to go out and get better. There's no guarantees. Get better every day, be as good as we possibly can be, and see where that takes us. And when you're playing in this league, which will have probably 6 of the top 25 teams in the country again, as it did last year, every night out's a battle, and you know, we're excited about the challenge, but it's going to be a great challenge, and it's one that we're looking forward to.
So the team starts playing just about 2 weeks against DePaul in an exhibition game. Team also play Notre Dame and Illinois State this fall, which are bigger programs.
Right.
How important are those exhibition games?
Well, I think they're extremely important for us. It gives you a barometer of where your team's at. Our guys are extremely excited to play those games, and I think we've proven, you know, since we've been here that, you know, we've beat UIC, we've beat Loyola, we've beat DePaul. So we're certainly expecting to go into those games and compete and try and use them to get better and look at different lineups, different schemes, different things that you know, that we want to look at and evaluate. So it's an evaluative tool, and hopefully allows us to look at some guys and look at some different matchups.
So coming up on Thursday night, it's the Flyer Fan Fest. We talked to Coach Carlsen. The women's team will be
Right.
there. Of course, the men's team will be there. What can students expect to see from the teams when they come out?
I think it's really developed into in a short period of time to an exciting thing, and you know, ultimately it's for the fans. I mean, we're not my team, we're Lewis's team, and we want our guys to come out here, or want the fans to come out here and you know, get a sneak preview of both teams. But you know, I think ultimately, we need the fans and we need the students, and I think we've had great crowds at our games the last couple years, and we need the fans to come out again. And I think it's a great interactive event. It's a fun event, and we need the fans to come out and support our guys and the women's team as well. So looking forward to a big crowd on Thursday.
All right, well, Coach, is there anything else you'd like to add while you're here today?
No, looking forward to the season, and encourage fans to get out and support both teams. I think you got 2 top, 11 teams, women I think are 8. So it's going to be an exciting season, and look forward to seeing a lot of fans out there. So anxious to get started.
All right, well, thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, Shane.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back right here on Flyer Nation. Don't go anywhere.
Preventing wildfires. That's all Smokey wants for his 70th birthday.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Kids will spend 15 minutes watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. they have the time.
Welcome back to Flyer Nation. The Lewis women's volleyball team split their weekend series, picking up both a win and a loss. However, their loss came against the second-place team in the conference, which could have an impact on the standings. Let's take a look at where the team is currently sitting. The Flyers are still sitting in first place despite the loss over the weekend. Both the Flyers and Indianapolis have the same 9-2 conference record. However, the Flyers have a better overall record, keeping them in the top spot. McKendree and Southern Indiana are sitting in the 3rd and 4th positions, while Illinois Springfield is sitting at the bottom of the conference.
Both of our Lewis soccer teams played this weekend. The women's team picked up a victory on Friday night while the men's team lost. Let's take a look at where they're currently sitting in the standings. The men are currently sitting in the 4th place position with a 6-2-2 record. Quincy is still undefeated, sitting in the top of the conference, while Drury and UMSL sit in the number 2 and number 3 spots respectively. Things look a little bit different on the women's side as the Flyers are sitting in 12th place. UW Parkside, Truman State, and Rockhurst are sitting in the top 3 positions in the conference.
It's time for our weekly Player of the Week awards. The GLVC has named David Pyle of the Lewis men's soccer team as the Offensive and Defensive Player of the Week. Pyle helped the Flyers last weekend when they tied against McKendree and picked up a victory over Bellarmine, putting the Flyers in a 4-way tie for 2nd place in conference. This is Pyle's first career weekly award from the conference.
Baden Volleyball has selected Lee Berea of the Lewis women's volleyball team as the Offensive Player of the Week. As the team's setter, Berea has helped the team go on a 9-game winning streak, which included victories over several GLVC opponents. Berea has also helped the team remain in first place in the conference standings and was impactful again this past weekend.
The GLVC named their Golfers of the Month, and Lewis University has received recognition on both the men's and women's teams. The League of Men's Golf Coaches named junior Alex Thode the Men's Player of the Month after picking up a 71.86 stroke average over 7 rounds in the month of September. The GLVC also named Melissa Van Sistine as the Player of the Month of the women's side for her top 3 performances in September. Van Sistine also placed 24th in a national preview event and 1st place in the Prairie State event, earning her this award.
Our Flyer Nation Player of the Week award will go to George Thompson of the Lewis men's soccer team. Thompson scored 2 goals for the Flyers on Sunday against Maryville to help the team come back from behind and pick up a conference victory. His 2 goals are good enough to earn our Player of the Week award. Well, exciting to see that both the Golfers of the Month are Lewis athletes.
Right, absolutely. It's exciting to see one player be recognized from Lewis, but to have 2, that's even better.
Yeah, especially as the overall Player of the Month. That doesn't happen very often, especially on both teams.
Right, absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back here on Flyer Nation.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just, please, don't leave. Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
Mom, can we get some ice cream? Please, Mom, please.
No, we're having dinner soon.
Please.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Both Lewis soccer teams are at home this weekend, and the women's volleyball team plays on the road. Let's take a look at the upcoming game schedule. On Friday night, both Lewis soccer teams will take on Quincy at the Lewis Stadium. The men's game will start at 5 o'clock, while the women's game will start at 7:30. Both can be seen right here on LUTN Channel 6, as well as LewisFlyers.com. Also on Friday night, the Lewis women's volleyball team will play in the GLIAC GLVC crossover tournament in Aurora. The ladies will take on Grand Valley State in the first round and are scheduled to start at 4:30 p.m. On Saturday, the women's volleyball team will take on Michigan Tech in Northern Michigan. First game will happen in that series at 10 o'clock a.m. with the second game starting at 4 o'clock p.m. And on Sunday afternoon, both Lewis soccer teams will be in action again at home against Truman State. The men's game will start at noon while the women will play at 2 o'clock.
If you can't make it out to see the Flyers play in person, you can always watch the games live here on LUTN Channel 6 or online at lewisflyers.com. This Friday night, our radio station WLRA 88.1 FM will be back with another Friday Night Lights high school football game of the week. Be sure to tune in on 88.1 FM or online at WLRAradio.com to catch that game, as well as Lewis University Athletics and Lewis Club Hockey.
Also, don't forget this Thursday night, the Lewis Athletics Department will host their 3rd annual Lewis Flyer Fan Night. Students are encouraged to come out and celebrate the beginning of the basketball seasons with both teams, as well as eat pizza and have the chance to win prizes. Students even have the chance to have their books for next semester paid for if they win during a shooting contest. The Fan Fest will begin at 9 o'clock p.m. in the Neil Carey Arena. So it'll be exciting to see the Flyer Fan Fest coming up on Thursday night.
Right, absolutely. I might have to enter the shooting contest to see if I can have my textbooks paid for next semester. That's a really good idea. That'll definitely get students excited to participate.
It is a good idea. Good luck with the shooting contest.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I don't know. Well, yeah.
Like I said, good luck.
Thanks.
All right, well, that will do it for us here this week on Flyer Nation. Thanks for joining us.
Be sure to tune in next week right here on LUTN for the latest in Flyer athletics.
From all of us here at Flyer Nation, have a great day.
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. We beg to differ. They are snapshots that represent lasting memories, stories to be told for years to come. Our story is one pictured not just with trophies, but with diplomas, friendships, a helping hand. New chapters beginning every season. This is the story of the Great Lakes Valley Conference.